I live in a small apartment building, the kind where you can hear every creak and step your neighbors make. There's this guy who lives down the hall quiet, keeps to himself. I'd see him occasionally in the hallway, and he'd always give me this weird, lingering stare, but I didn't think much of it. One night, I woke up to the sound of tapping. Not knocking, just light, deliberate tapping, like fingernails on glass. I brushed it off, assuming it was my upstairs neighbor, but then it happened again the next night. This time it wasn't coming from above me. It was coming from my bedroom window. I live on the 3rd floor. I told myself it had to be the wind or some animal, but deep down, I knew that didn't make sense. I tried to ignore it until a week later I came home and found my front door slightly open. I walked in cautiously, calling out, but no one answered. Nothing was missing, but everything felt off, like someone had been there. I checked every room, and when I got to my bedroom, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Written on the inside of my window, in what looked like dirt, were the words, "I see you." I called the landlord and the police, but they found no signs of forced entry. The locks were changed, and I thought it was over until last night. When I went to bed, I found a Polaroid photo on my pillow. It was a picture of me sleeping in my bed. It started as just a normal Friday night. I was at the bar with a couple of friends, laughing, sipping on a cocktail, and enjoying the music. That's when I noticed him. He was sitting alone at the end of the bar, his eyes glued to me. At first I brushed it off, maybe he was just people watching. But every time I glanced over, he hadn't moved. He wasn't drinking. He wasn't looking at anyone else, just me. Eventually my friends left, but I decided to stick around for one more drink. I couldn't explain why, but I felt uneasy. I told myself it was just my imagination. But then, as I grabbed my coat and turned to leave, I saw him stand up too. I tried to stay calm, walking out of the bar and down the street like everything was fine, but I could hear footsteps behind me, steady and deliberate. I turned a corner, hoping to lose him, but the steps got louder. I ducked into an alley, crouching behind a dumpster to catch my breath. That's when I heard his voice, low, cold, and so close it made my stomach drop. "You shouldn't have stayed so late." I froze. The footsteps stopped right in front of the dumpster. My heart was pounding so loud I thought he could hear it. Then, after what felt like forever, I heard him walk away. I waited 20 minutes before daring to move. When I finally got home, I found something waiting for me on my doorstep, a napkin from the bar with a single sentence scrawled on it. "I'll see you soon." A few years ago, I was at a friend's housewarming party. It went later than I expected, so I decided to call a Uber to get home. When the car pulled up, I noticed the driver wasn't the one in the app's photo. I hesitated for a second, but it was late, and I just wanted to get home. I convinced myself that maybe the app hadn't updated his profile picture or something. He seemed normal enough, quiet, polite. For the first few minutes, everything was fine. But then I noticed we weren't following the GPS route. Instead of heading toward my apartment, we were going down these long, empty back roads. I asked him about it, trying to keep my voice steady, and he said something about road closures. But here's the thing, I knew those roads. There were no closures. I felt my chest tighten as I tried to think of what to do. I pretended to text someone, hoping he'd see and get nervous. But when I glanced at his reflection in the rearview mirror, he wasn't even looking at the road. His eyes were on me. I tried to stay calm. "Can you let me out here?" I asked, forcing a smile. He didn't answer. Instead, he slowed the car and pulled over to the side of the road. He turned around in his seat, and I could see him clearly for the first time. His smile was small, almost nervous, but his eyes, they were dead. "I've seen you before," he said softly, "at the coffee shop near your building. You always sit by the window." I couldn't speak. My throat felt like it was closing. "You shouldn't leave your curtains open at night," he added, his voice calm, almost conversational. It's dangerous. My hand was on the door handle, but before I could move, he locked the doors. I don't remember exactly what I said. I begged him to let me go, promised I wouldn't say anything to anyone. He stared at me for a long moment, then sighed, almost like he was disappointed. Finally, he unlocked the doors and motioned for me to get out. I didn't wait. I ran as fast as I could into the dark, not even looking back. When I finally made it to a main road, I flagged down a car and got home. I reported him to the Uber company and the police, but they said without any identifying details, there wasn't much they could do. That was 2 years ago. But lately I've been noticing things. A shadow moving outside my window late at night, footsteps behind me when I walk home. I keep telling myself it's nothing, but sometimes, when I sit by the window with my coffee, I get the feeling I'm being watched.